Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Crystal Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Back, our fearless leader is here today, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. As I slap my glasses back on, I was on a 3.5-4 hour plane ride this morning. I'm still completely tired. I caught a cab at 3 a.m. this morning to go to the airport. But we're here to talk movie news for AMC Movie Talk. How you doing, Crystal Lee?
I'm doing better than you are, apparently.
Just for today.
All right, well, it looks like 2014 is shaping up to be the year of Kelsey Grammer action films. The one-time Frasier star is already set to appear in the fourth installment of the Transformers franchise, and now it's being reported that he's joined the upcoming and already shooting Expendables 3. Grammer will reportedly play an ex-mercenary by the name of Bonaparte, the role that was initially offered to Nicolas Cage. Expendables 3 hits AMC theaters everywhere on August 15th, 2014. John, would you have pictured Kelsey Grammer as a replacement for Nicolas Cage?
No. No. Like, here's the funny thing. I'm actually a big, as far as his work on screen, I'm a big Kelsey Grammer fan. I've liked him ever since the Frasier days. I think I've said this before. I think he was the best part of the ill-fated X-Men 3. I actually thought him playing McCoy, Beast, was inspired casting, especially at that age. And I thought he did a great job playing him. And I like him just about everything I see him in. Not that I like every movie he's in, but I like the job he generally does. But if you were to tell me, okay, Kelsey Grammer's going to be in Expendables, I would have gone, oh, okay, I could see him fitting. But if you could say, okay, Kelsey Grammer's going to be in the Expendables in the role that was going to be Nicolas Cage. Really?
Weird.
There's a guy there. I mean, there's a character that you could see. Yeah, it's a coin toss. We could either have Nicolas Cage or Kelsey Grammer. Because they're basically the same guy.
Totally.
I mean, I don't get that at all. I mean, look, I'm excited about Expendables 3. I had fun with Expendables 1, although it had a lot of problems. I had a lot of fun with Expendables 2, which I thought just was, you know what, just don't take us seriously whatsoever. Let's just do Expendables 2. Boom! And I thought it was a load of fun on that level. And I've been really excited about Expendables 3, especially with a lot of the casting we've heard. And this one just adds to it. I just find it very curious that it's replacing the role they were reserving for Nicolas Cage. Very odd.
It's very odd. But I'm really excited to see Kelsey Grammer as the bad guy. I like him as the bad guy. I think he's really great and believable as the bad guy. So
if he's the bad guy.
Well,
there's nothing here that says he is the bad guy.
I hope he's the bad guy.
Because we know that Mel Gibson is the bad guy.
Right.
So whether Bonaparte will be, an auxiliary bad guy or a henchman bad guy, or maybe not a bad guy at all. I mean, he may not be bad. He might be another good guy. Maybe.
I think I'd be sold more if he was the bad guy.
I think that would be interesting. I'd be with you on that.
Last week, Warner Brothers made the surprise announcement that the studio is reteaming with author J.K. Rowling for an adaptation of her textbook, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Sorry about that, guys. To be set in the cinematic world of Harry Potter. Harry Potter producer David Hyman was recently asked about the new film and Rowling returning to the Potter world and said the following: I can't talk really about it yet. All I can say is that it's great. Jo had no need to go back to this universe or world. It's not Harry Potter per se, but the world of Harry. She's chosen to do so because she felt a need to tell a story. That she's doing it means it's going to be very, very special. John, what do you make of Hyman's comments?
I like his comments actually a lot, because he says something that makes a lot of sense. Now, look, I've joked around a lot the last year or so saying, look, J.K. Rowling at some point is going to start missing that daily dump truck full of money that was backed up to her house and dumped on her lawn. Eventually, she's going to grow tired of that not happening every day, and she'll return to the world of Harry Potter, whether it'll be a reboot or another sequel, but, down the line a bit. The fact that, he's right. When Heyman says she did not need to come back right now, she is still the richest human being in the world. I mean, not literally, but right up there. She is still one of the wealthiest women to ever live. She doesn't need to go back to Harry Potter right now, or that universe. I mean, this isn't going to be a Harry Potter movie, but to go back to that universe at all. And the very fact that she goes, you know what? There's an idea that she had that she thought would work, and she thinks it's so good that she is returning to it now when she has no need to do it. I think the producer's dead on when he says that means this is going to be something special. Now, whether or not it works out great or not, that's another question. But there is no denying that J.K. Rowling really believes in this and thinks it's good enough to go back to that world already, even though she has no need to whatsoever. What do you think about this? When you really your first reaction when you actually heard about this story at all?
Well, first I went to money as well because I was like, okay, well, she has tons of it. They had to have offered her a very large amount to go back to this world. But I am still a huge Harry Potter fan and a J.K. Rowling's fan, and she's a beautiful storyteller. And at the end of Harry Potter, all the fans were so sad that it was over.
Yeah,
and she said that it was over and she wasn't going back. So this makes me even more excited to know that this is a story that she wants to tell, that she's excited about. So it's got to be amazing.
And, the interesting thing, what I think is one of the really most interesting things about this is that, Warner Brothers approached her about, the extended Potter world and, maybe could we develop something else? And she thought about it, and then she went to Warner Brothers and said, I will write this. I have an idea for this, and I'll write it. And so that tells me she really believes. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good, but it means she believes it, and that's definitely a step in the right direction. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Chris Lee has a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and I'm simply going to say whether I buy it or sell it. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
It was announced some time ago that Universal Pictures was developing a film version of the 2010 video game Dante's Inferno, and now it appears the studio has found its director. Evil Dead remake director Fede Alvarez has signed on to helm the project, which will follow a Templar knight traversing the 9 circles of hell to rescue the soul of his beloved Beatrice. John buy or sell Alvarez taking on Dante's Inferno.
Oh, the things we'll do to rescue the soul of our beloved Beatrice. I'm going to buy this, actually. I think look, obviously everybody knows I'm death, taxes, video game movies suck. Those are the 3 inevitabilities in life. But if you're going to do it, try to set yourself up for success. And I think getting the guy who did Evil Dead, the remake, to do this one, nice move, actually. To me, I see this as a fit. Now, is it enough of a fit? I mean, we still don't know casting. We don't know specific story details. So a lot of it is still up in the air and is questionable. But if you're going to do a video game movie, set yourself up as much as you can for success. And I believe getting the right director at the right time is the right thing to do. And I believe this is the right director for the right time.
Especially when it's all to save his love.
All the soul of his love, yes.
The production company behind such films as Paranormal Activity, Sinister, and Insidious Chapter 2, Blumhouse Productions, has just announced that Aaron Eckhart has signed on to lead their upcoming horror film, Incarnate. Incarnate follows an exorcist, played by Eckhart, who comes up against an evil from his past when he uses his supernatural skills to enter the subconscious of a 9-year-old boy. Eckhart can also be seen in the upcoming film, I, Frankenstein. John, buy or sell Eckhart joining Incarnate.
Now, first of all, I don't know if it's Incarnate or Incarnate. Now, I haven't heard it said yet.
It probably is.
I haven't heard it said yet, so it might be Incarnate. I haven't heard anybody say the word, so I'm just going to call it, for argument's sake, I'm going to call it Incarnate for now. I'm going to sell this. And it's not because I don't like what Blumhouse has been doing, because I do like what Blumhouse has been doing. It's not that I don't like Aaron Eckhart, because I do like Aaron Eckhart. I like him very much. But doesn't it seem like all of these films are based on an exorcist does this? In this new original story, an exorcist, it all starts that way. And then in this one, an exorcist. And in this one, an exorcist. But it's not just one movie, and it's not a part 2 or a sequel. It's a brand new movie, but they're all with exorcists. So to me, and who knows, the movie might be awesome, might be great. It's definitely the right actor. It's a fun little production company that they got going. It's not so little anymore. But overall, yeah, another exorcist thing in the what's that, 12 in the last 3 years? For me, it's a sell for now.
Well, seeing that I just changed the name of it, we should just buy it because I did that.
That's possible.
It happens. The upcoming Will Ferrell, Kevin Hart comedy Get Hard has just found its director. According to reports, screenwriter Etan Cohen wrote such films as Tropic Thunder, Men in Black 3, and Idiocracy. Will helm the project. Get Hard follows a rich bank manager, played by Ferrell, who was wrongfully convicted and sentenced to time in a maximum security prison. To prepare himself for his incarceration, Ferrell's character hires the man who washes his car, played by Hart, to toughen him up in his final 30 days of freedom. Cohen will also direct another Ferrell comedy in 2014, Daddy's Home, which will star Will Ferrell and Vince Vaughn. John, buy or sell Cohen directing Get Hard?
I buy this. Actually, I think this is a really nice. So obviously, Cohen has some really nice comedic sensibilities with the various films that he's already been a part of. Ferrell and Hart together, I think this is going to be a really, and the overall story sounds really fun. I remember we started talking about this about 6 months ago. Was when we first heard about and started talking about Get Hard. I think it sounds great. I think they added the right guy to be the director, so everything's going in a really good direction. All right, folks, so listen, before we get to mailbag, we had something pretty cool happen in the AMC, our AMC Movie Talk studios the other day. We were actually joined in our studio by star, writer, and director of the upcoming film Don Jon, Mr. Joesph Gordon-Levitt, came into our studio to sit down and talk with us about his new film and you know what brought him about doing it and what his motivation for it was. It was a great conversation. We had a great time with him. And after we did the interview, we went into the studio or into the theater and we did a Q&A for the audience, which was a lot of fun. So right now, before we get into mailbag, I wanted to share with you just a little bit of our conversation with Joesph Gordon-Levitt. Take it out. Okay, let's start with this. For those who, as of yet, may not be really familiar with the film, tell us about Don Jon.
Sure. Well, it's a comedy that I wrote and directed, and I'm in it, as you can see by the giant picture of my head right next to my real head. It's sort of it's a comedy about how people sometimes treat each other more like things than like people, and how the media can sometimes contribute to that. So it centers around a relationship between a young man that I play and a young woman that Scarlett Johansson plays. And the guy watches too much pornography and she watches too many romantic Hollywood movies. And so they both have sort of unrealistic expectations about what, love and sex and things like that are supposed to be.
You're describing my relationship with my wife. Anyway, one of the things that I loved about this film so much is, and that what a lot of filmmakers, even experienced ones, never kind of get right, is what jumped out at me was the word balance. You mentioned it's a comedy and it's funny, but it's not just, oh, we're just going to try to make them laugh all the way through. You have actually this story that goes through it, and it's got social commentary in there as well. Was that deliberate on your part? Did you want to strike that balance, or is that just sort of how the story in the film evolved?
Yeah, and I really wanted to do that. I'm pleased you said so. So thanks very much. You know, I find that I love a good comedy for sure, and I love a good yuck comedy, whether it's the Marx Brothers or Jack Black, whoever. But my favorite comedies tend to be the ones where the humor comes because you care about the people and the story. And I've been fortunate enough to be in a few like 50-50 or like 500 Days of Summer. This is sort of the tone I was going for. In fact, I had the idea to take this story and turn it into this sort of comedy while I was shooting 50-50. And I was hanging out with Seth and Evan and that whole posse every day and thought like, that's the way to tell this story. Because, social commentary like you're talking about, I think when it's in a movie, it's best to make it funny.
Right. This
isn't an essay. I'm not a professor. There are lots of great essays written about this kind of thing, but that's not what I wanted to make. If I'm going to make a movie and I'm going to ask people to, come and watch it, I want them to enjoy themselves. And I grew up, on a comedy, working on Third Rock from the Sun. I know what it takes to make a room full of people laugh. And that's what I wanted to do, because I think if you're going to try to say something, oftentimes the best way to do it is to do it through a few laughs.
Yeah, it's amazing how much more palatable those things are to us when we're laughing as we're digesting it at the same time.
Absolutely. Well, you take a movie like, classics like Dr. Strangelove, which is different than this, but, it's a comedy with a lot to say. Or even, more recently you have a movie like, say, Django Unchained, which is maybe my favorite movie last year, which you couldn't exactly call a comedy per se.
Right.
But it has a lot of social commentary. It has a lot to say about the world and our country and, race and class and everything else. But it doesn't do it by, like, giving you a history lesson.
Right.
It does it by giving you a really entertaining night at the movies. And so that's kind of what I was going for with Don Jon is, something to make you laugh, have fun, but also give you something to talk about when it's done.
Right. Well, you mentioned when you came up with the idea, but I'm always curious about this, especially with your acting career is so good right now, and you've done such amazing work. What made now the right time for you to make Don Jon, to step behind the camera and direct the film? Why now?
Well, thanks, first of all. Why now? Well, with a little bit of success, that's when you can, raise a bit of money and keep creative control. I didn't want to make a movie and then sell it to a big company and have, it sort of trial by committee. And
right. We
think that, market research shows that the testing says that you should change the ending of your movie. That I didn't want that to happen. So it's hard to find money for movies nowadays, as it's hard to find money for any business venture nowadays. And so with me and Scarlett in it, we were able to raise a pretty moderate budget. For context, like the budget of this movie is like half the budget of 500 Days of Summer. But we were able to raise that money and keep total creative control. And I don't think I would have been able to do that a few years ago before being in a few big hits.
Right. Well, don't forget that Don Jon opens in AMC theaters everywhere right near the end of the month. You can head on over to www.amctheaters.com to get your theater showtime and ticket information. We loved having him around there. The movie is really great. You should make sure you get out and see it. Don Jon at AMC Theaters, starring director, writer, and star, of course, Mr. Joesph Gordon-Levitt. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Listen, here's how this works. In front of her, Chrissa Lee has picked out very carefully a couple of questions that you guys have sent in. Now, look, every day we take a couple questions in Mailbag. You can email us a question anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Every day we pull out a couple questions, we ask them on air. You can have yours asked. Just email us anytime. We'll see if we can get around to yours as well. So, Chrissa Lee, what do we have?
Kyle Kizu writes, "Hey everyone, love the show. For so long now, I have been asking myself why David Boreanaz hasn't been in a superhero movie. He's incredibly handsome, an incredibly large and tough fellow, and has got incredible acting chops. Personally, I thought he would be a stroke of genius for the older version of Batman. Could any of you see him as a hero sometime in the future? I'd love to see him in the new DC universe, or maybe he could take over Iron Man as a more serious character. I don't know. Thanks for the insight."
David Boreanaz is a guy that we were just talking about him, actually. Mm-hmm. I like David Boreanaz. I've liked him ever since Angel. I'm one of these guys who I didn't really care for Buffy on TV, but I really liked Angel. I have no explanation as to why I felt that way. I just did. And there have certainly been times over the past 10 years I thought, David Boreanaz could play this superhero, or David Boreanaz could play that superhero. But honestly, here's the thing. We're going to get back now to a topic that I have to bring up every once in a while. The reason that a studio wouldn't go with a guy like David Boreanaz is this. TV stars can't transition to movies. And when I say can't, use that as hyperbole. It happens very, very rarely, but for the most part, TV stars have a very, very difficult time transitioning to movie stars. Now, I'm sure you could probably come up with a list of 15 to 20 people, but I'm going to give you 100 for every one you give me that couldn't do it. And I remember I was taking this film seminar once, being done by this really great Hollywood film historian, and he talked about this issue. And he said, one of the reasons that you don't put TV stars in movies there are two reasons. Reason number one, he said, if they're from successful, and remember, we're talking about people who started off as TV stars, not somebody who was a movie star, then went to TV and then came back, not somebody who was a music star and then went to TV and then went to somebody else. Mm-hmm. People who actually started out as television stars, not some little fourth role, supporting role, but was a legit television star. And where did they go? Like the cast of Friends. Anyway, so he said this. He goes, there's a couple of reasons it doesn't really work out. And he said one of the reasons is that television audiences become accustomed to seeing that person for free. Mm-hmm. At home, watching them on television every week, they get accustomed to seeing them for free. And the subconscious idea of going out and paying to see them is a little jarring. But he said the bigger issue is this. It's association. Now, we often will talk about how, oh my gosh, this guy just played a killer in the last movie he was in. Now he's playing a killer again in the next movie. He's going to be typecast. Mm-hmm. We're all going to think of him as typecast. Really? For 3.5 to 4 hours of storytelling, 2 movies, he's typecast now for life. Okay, now take that philosophy and apply it to television. How long has David Boreanaz been playing in that TV show Bones?
Forever.
It's got to be at least 8 years,
it's
right?
It's got to be at least 8 years.
8 years, right? 8 years, David Boreanaz. Let's forget Angel. For 8 years, every week, well, for as many episodes there are per season, every week for 8 years. Now we're talking like I don't know, 100 hours of television, 150. I haven't done the math, but 150 hours of television, whatever. This guy was in 4 hours of playing a killer. He's going to be typecast. This guy, hundreds of hours of playing the exact same character every single week that the fans at home have watched and now completely associate him with. And it's challenging now to pull them out of that and get them to drop $10 to go see a movie with them. Now, it happens, right? George Clooney's done it.
Yes.
Not many other guys have.
Not too many other
Jennifer Aniston has done it. But for every Jennifer Aniston, there's the other 5 cast members of Friends who have tried to make it in the movie business and have not been able to. And so getting a guy like David Boreanaz, who his whole career has been television, being on TV for free, being associated by his fans in just 2 roles in the past 15 years, Angel and the Dude on Bones. And that's it. And that's a really tough thing to break out of. So I think almost more than anything else, one of the things that is going to keep the studios from going to a David Boreanaz to do a superhero film, not that he couldn't do a great job. Notice, I'm not saying that Boreanaz wouldn't be great. I'm just saying one of the things that will keep studios from ever going to a guy like him for something like this is those 2 factors that I mentioned that Hollywood film guy did at a seminar. We were associated seeing him for free, and we've associated with one character for so long, it's hard to break out of that. And for that reason, I don't think it can happen. But you like Boreanaz, I know.
I love Boreanaz, and I actually got to meet him on the set of Bones once, and he's as charming as he is an amazing actor. And I do think that he could play an amazing superhero, but I think you're right. I think that people aren't going to look at him when there's a pool of actors in movies that have been doing this forever.
Agreed.
So. Frank Cowden writes, great show you at AMC Movie Talk put on. Keep it up. I was just bored and watching Scott Pilgrim versus the World with Mary Elizabeth Winston fan. Anyhow, was there ever potential of a sequel to this fun 90-minute movie, or did the lack of success in theaters kill that long ago?
The lack of its success in theaters killed it, and killed it almost immediately. Scott Pilgrim, which is so unfortunate because Scott Pilgrim is so good.
So fun.
I loved Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Now, I'll admit, I went into watching Scott Pilgrim versus the World already a little bit biased for it because I'm a big Edgar Wright fan. But I'm telling you, that movie was charming. It was funny. It was quick-witted. It was, the pace was fantastic. And all the different, the 7 evil X's and all, it was just so really, really well done that I've watched it 5, 6, 7 times. I've lost count. It's a fun movie. And for whatever reason, and I'm sure there are several reasons why, but very few people went to go see it. It lost the studio a lot of money. Now, whether it's because some people speculate it was because of Michael Cera. People were just kind of sick of Michael Cera at the time. No. And I admit, I was a little sick of Michael Cera at the time. I was, but I still went to go give it a shot. Some people said, it looked a little hipsterish. It did. Yeah. Even the marketing looked pretty hipsterish, and to a lot of people that turns them off. Okay, I get it. I'm not a huge fan of the hipster culture either, but I still want to go give it a shot because I'm a big Edgar Wright fan, right? But not everybody is like me, who is going to go see it anyway just because it was Edgar Wright. And I really wish they would, because I think if more people gave this film a chance, they would have fallen in love with it. Now, one of the other reasons that we probably won't ever see and look, I know Edgar Wright would like to do it, but him wanting to do it ain't going to make it happen. It's no studio's going to put up the money for it. But one of the other things that I think would be a real roadblock to getting a sequel made is that, if I'm not mistaken, and please guys correct me if I'm wrong, because full disclosure, I haven't read the Scott Pilgrim graphic novels. But my understanding is there's a lot of them, and that one film actually took all the major points from a majority of them, and just kind of put them into one movie. So I think that becomes a little bit of a problem and issue as well. But like I said, if I'm wrong about that, guys, jump in the comments section and correct me, please. But for those reasons and others, we're never. I really doubt we're ever going to see another Scott Pilgrim versus the World. But I would be awfully happy if we did.
So would I. David Keith writes, hey guys, love the show. Very addictive. Schnepp, I also can't wait for your movie. Anyway, I have a 2-part question. 1, with Dexter ending, I would love to see Michael C. Hall jump to the big screen as Lex Luthor. What do you think?
I have been an advocate of Michael C. Hall as Lex Luthor, actually. When we were having some of our earlier talks and discussions about, who could we see as Lex Luthor, I definitely threw up the name Michael C. Hall as one. I have some other guys in mind too. Some other guys I would have ahead of Michael C. Hall, but Michael C. Hall I think would be an inspired choice. Now we're facing the same kind of dilemma that David Boreanaz is facing. He's been Dexter for so long. Granted, not as long as Boreanaz has been on TV, and certainly half the amount of episodes because the episodes on Showtime are only like 12 episodes or 13 episodes a season. So there's less of that involved there. Granted, I think he would be a great choice. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think you and I are going to get our wish, but it would be pretty cool. The thing about Dexter Morgan, the thing about Michael C. Hall is that he has this amazing ability to be incredibly innocent and charming. Now, this is all with the same character. Be incredibly innocent, charming, and, likable, and then in the shortest of split seconds can turn very dark and very frightening at the same time. And that's something I think you would have to bring to a Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I think whoever plays Lex Luthor is going to have to be able to bring that ability to be the magnanimous, wealthiest, smartest man in the world that, in the comic books gets enough people to vote for him as president, Yeah. He has to be that charming, that engaging, but at the same time, he's got to be able to flip that switch and be this dark, menacing, most terrifying man in the Superman universe. So you got to have that ability, and we know Michael C. Hall has it. I don't think whoever plays Lex Luthor has to shave their head. I don't think having a shaved head is an absolute necessity or core value of who the character is. It's just iconic, but go with it or don't go with it. I don't really care. But I think he's got the ability to bring those important qualities of Lex Luthor there. So I would be all for it. I just don't think it's going to happen. All right, folks, well, listen, that will do it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, if you haven't done so already, take a second and click on that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. Keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news and, of course, our daily AMC Movie Talk show and our weekend AMC Mailbag show. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. And listen, this is a great time to be a film fan. Going out to see a movie this week, head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. If you'd like an audio-only version of this episode, just look down in the description of this video and you'll find links to our iTunes and our Stitcher Radio. I want to thank, as always, first of all, our lovely host, Miss Chrisley Lee Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Chrisley.
And you can find me on Facebook at John Campea AMC and on Twitter just at John Campea. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name is John Campea for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.